Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the north corner of the map, playing in blue. It's big news about Jose Mourinho, also known of course as beastyqt, playing as the Japanese. And battling out against him today in the south in red, we've got Kaiser Johan, playing as the Byzantines. Welcome everyone to Dry Arabia. As always, I hope you're all having a great morning, maybe good afternoon. Perhaps even a good evening. But what I do know for you guys, it's going to be a great game today. The Byzantines versus the Japanese, a matchup that we saw a lot in, well, I guess when the Sultan's Ascend DLC came out, which is quite a while ago. And guess what? Beastie going with the different name, big news about Jose Mourinho. The reason why there's a famous interview with Jose Mourinho, where he said he couldn't talk about something very, very hot and very important. And I'll tell you what, there's something very important to announce today. Well, it's been announced already, but you may not have seen it, so let's go through it. There's going to be a new DLC for Age of Empires 4 coming our way in 2025. Now, we don't know too much more than that. We don't know what civilizations, we don't know exactly when it will be coming out, but we do know it's going to be in 2025. At least that's what's expected, and that's exciting news to say the least. What I'm kind of curious to see is whether there will be new civilizations or variant civilizations, or maybe both. We had both in the last DLC, so potentially that could be coming our way. I expect to see new civilizations, to be honest. I'd be a little bit disappointed if there weren't new ones, because, I mean, like, it's been a while, right, since we had the latest DLC, and I think that's what we'll all get hyped and excited about. But, hey, you know what, variant civilizations, I'll take them too. I'm kind of curious to think what might be coming our way. Let me know what you would like to see coming our way in terms of civilizations. Let me know as a comment down in the comment section below. What's the civilization you'd like to see in Age of Empires 4? And I'm kind of curious to see, maybe in a year's time, we'll look back in the comment section of this video and see who actually got it right. What we'll see though is an early olive grove for the Byzantines. Now, to talk about this matchup, it's certainly an interesting one. A lot of the new civilizations that came to our way in the latest DLC, they operate in a very fascinating way. They typically have a good power spike in the Castle Age. It typically is where they house a lot of their power, especially the Byzantines and the Japanese. And then they can add in the town centers later on, perhaps in the Castle Age. Very different from, of course, the base civilizations that, if they want to expand their economy, they typically do so in the feudal age. Now, the reason why these two civilizations are powerful in the Castle Age is, well, the Byzantines, their economy really gets online around about then. The cistern network starts to build up. Already you start off with a 10% gather rate, but once you get the water level up, which you can do so by building more cisterns and connecting them up by, via the aqueducts, once you've done that, increases the water level, increases the perks and benefits you get in terms of the village gather rate, but also the production rate of military buildings. And so when you get to this stage where you're up to sort of water level 3, 4, you kind of couple a really fast gather rate of villagers with faster military production, so they can really get their, the military online very quickly. The Japanese, going up usually with the Golden Gatehouse, can end up getting, is it Golden Gatehouse? Floating Gatehouse, something like that. We'll take a look. It's a floating something. Either way, that landmark that gets them, the Yorishiro and also the Shinto priests can pick up relics quite quickly. I'm kind of curious to see actually whether we will be skipping feudal age altogether. I mean, all that said, both civilizations do have a decent feudal age as well. Of course, the Byzantines can get a couple of early units nicely with the mercenaries, which, by the way, is not often the case, but I think when we play as the Byzantines, we've got to check what the trade post is giving us. Giving us Jugunu and also mercenary war elephants. Incredible units. I don't really expect to see them today, but we can wish, we can hope. There's that second cistern coming up now for Kaiser Johan. So with all that said and done, with the great announcement coming our way, new DLCs, new civs, I would like to say a very big thank you for all the support on the channel that you guys have been showing, whether it be on Twitch or YouTube. You guys are absolute legends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you have been enjoying the content, if I could ask a little bit of a favour, if you wouldn't mind dropping a subscription if you do watch the videos regularly, and more importantly hitting that notification bell, because then you get a little bit of a ding dong when I do upload another video, which is probably going to be every 2 days or so. Of course, we only upload the very best games that I cast, because I know that, when you click a video, you want to watch a good game, not really one that's just sort of, by the by. There are a lot of those types of games, so we only showcase the very best on the channel. And I think that strategy was working out pretty well. It means that everyone's happy, really. There's a stable being built. So it looks like it might be getting an Uma Bannerman nice and early. In fact, Maybe not actually, because well, actually, no, you'd need the daimyo mana for it. So it might be just regular horsemen here for Beastie and the Japanese. Speaking of stables, there's the stable for the Byzantines. He actually went up with a Grand Winery landmark, typically chosen. The Imperial Hippodrome's kind of fallen off a little bit, and it's really down to the fact that the Grand Winery offers such a good economic advantage. You get 60% extra olive oil from berry bushes and olive groves, and that means more mercenaries, more units, and a bigger Byzantine army. What we'll be curious to see is what contract he's going to be going up with. We don't know quite just yet because the mercenary house is just about to be built, as it adds in a barracks as well. So maybe they're going to have some feudal age aggression actually as it happens. Don't know necessarily how much they'll commit to it. But the Cura storehouse right next to the wood line acts off as a drop-off point for wood as well, and of course seeds those extra farms. Now you might be wondering, well, what about the free farms that would have spawned underneath the town centre? Well, because of the Cura storehouse, it's kind of blocked, right? Well, actually, thankfully the Cura storehouse, when you can't build the farms, they gather wood for you instead. So it's not lost resources as such. Well, adding a double archery range, definitely a different playstyle to these two civilizations. I think very much in part the fact that the Japanese have to make units, because the Byzantines get them for free, really. A couple of them for free. So they the Byzantines have a crazy all-in in the feudal age. They can do that. So of course BC just making a couple of units, making sure we can hold off. But I say couple is committing to a double archery range. So yeah, I guess in this particular matchup, because they play similar styles, both players, would benefit from a castle age, both civs. But actually, bearing that in mind, both will feel, actually, let's try and deny each other a little bit in terms of getting to that castle age. We talked about needing a daimyo mana for the Uma Bannerman, a special unit for the Japanese, and that's going to be coming in before too long anyway. There we go, he's got the stone for it. Bearing in mind that the Japanese can, when they mine gold, they get a bit of stone trickling in, and vice versa. So for every 10 gold, they get 2 stone, and for every 10 stone, they get 2 gold being mined in. Very nice bit of trickling of other resources with that. Speaking of trickling of resources, well, olive oil is starting to trickle on in, both on the berries and the olive groves that have been worked. Walls here means that the economy should be relatively safe here for Kaiser Johan. Only 2 villages in gold at the moment, so looking to commit to that feudal age for now. Japanese walling on up. Continues to make the Yumi Ashigaru, which is actually an interesting unit. Considering that, of course, the Limitanai are very powerful units for the Byzantines. Arguably one of the best spearman type units in the game. Because of the fact that they've got the shield wall ability. That reduces their speed of movement, but it actually reduces the damage done to them by 30% in terms of ranged damage. It's pretty powerful, actually, as it happens. Right, entering almost the 9-minute mark of the game, and looks like they're both scouting each other. A couple of horsemen here for the Japanese, trying to get value, but not able to achieve too much. And considering it's difficult to get damage early on now, considering both players have walled up, I wouldn't be surprised to see players venture out onto gold, maybe get a couple of outposts. But actually, getting onto the deer camp, a couple of outposts here for Beastie could be quite critical, because it could be a point in which that the Byzantines try to contest. Horseman, though, for Byzantines. He's got to be careful about this horseman, rather. It's a bit of an early warning mechanism as well for the Japanese. Considering he is out onto the deer camp, the horseman should be able to pick up any Byzantine units that move out. But there we go, there's one. He spots the horseman, and so Beastie might start to get prepared. Might look to try and drop down an outpost. He's got the wood for it. But instead, he's going to be able to keep the enemy army back home for now. And you can see now the aqueducts connecting the cisterns slowly but surely. Going to be achieving water level 3 soon enough. Now Kaiser Johan spots that, well, the Japanese are in deer camp, and he might look to try and challenge that. He won't want to give that away for free, really. Oh, a bit of engagement here, which the Japanese would win. Byzantines have to be a bit careful engaging this, although with the Limitanai there, it does change things quite dramatically. And yeah, Beastie certainly is going to have to run away from this fight. Which he can, of course. Cavalry units are very mobile, and as you can see, he's keeping his ranged units at home to defend with, because you don't want to be caught out with these. These guys, whilst they're fast, Yumi Ashigaru, the horsemen for the enemies, would be able to catch up with them if they're caught in a pinch. Now, the Yumi Bannerman does increase the attack by 15% the damage. Very nice to have within the army. Now, one thing to consider as well into the Castle Age, not that we're there yet, is that the Onnamusha are essentially a replacement for the crossbows. And they're pretty prone to damage from light units. So having longbows in this scenario for the Byzantines can work quite well if mixed in with the Varangian guards in the Castle Age. Of course, though, we're not quite just there yet. In fact, you know what? We might not be there for a while because it looks like it's going to be a heavy feudal age presence in this match today. Couple of horsemen down there for Beastie. Trying to drag the Byzantine army away from this location, and he does have one outpost now to help defend with. Arislit's coming in as well. Now, kind of considering whether siege engineering could be coming in for Kaiser Johan. He's looking to be aggressive. He's got to be careful not to get surrounded. His army, you can see Beastie looking to be on the prowl for replacement or reinforcements, and here they are. The good thing for Kaiser Johan, he's grouping up together, especially with the Limitanite. It means that these horsemen can't really engage this. And so Kaiser Johan doesn't make that mistake of trickling in units, considering the horsemen are running around. He was eager to pick some off, but grouping up together could be tricky now for the Japanese. Might need to bring these horsemen back home, because it looks like the Byzantines, they are going for it. It's got the Cairo Siphon building as we speak. Looks like it's going to be a bit of a feudal age push here for the Byzantines. Now, I was going to need at least a couple of these. One probably won't be enough. But granted, the Japanese have been able to take most of the deer camp already, which is a big part of the food resources he needs to keep pumping up army. He's going to engage here. Horseman going against horseman. Yumi Ashigaru focusing on the Limitanite. Cairo Siphon looking to burn that outpost to the ground. Pretty quick about it. Longbows firing off on the back line. There aren't any spearmen here for the Japanese, so it could be in a bit of trouble. Horsemen going against the Limitanite. Not really what they want to be here, but feels like they don't have any choice. Only a handful of Limitanite remain. Yumi Ashigaru doing a great job picking this off, but look at this. The horsemen aren't actually tanking too much here for the Byzantines. They've been caught out a little bit. These longbows, horsemen are going to go on top of them. But same could be said for the Yumi Ashigaru, although they're actually a much larger mass of units, and it looks like the Byzantines push is kind of grinding to a halt. He's taken out 2 outposts at least, which is certainly something. Looks like he should be able to pick off the remains of this army. It looks like Kaiser Johan has to back away and go back to the base. And interestingly enough, it looks like Beastie feels like he wants to push on forward, and he's got a good number of Yumi Ashigaru. He's got to be careful though, because could be facing up against horsemen from the Byzantines. If they get surrounded, these Yumi Ashigaru could go down quite quickly. Not much of a front line with them, of course. It looks like Beastie, it's his turn to do some damage. Definitely has a unit numbers advantage. And that's the benefit of having defender's advantage in this location. He was able to reinforce his army, whereas the Byzantines weren't able to do so as quickly. Did some damage, but it looks like behind all of this, Beastie leveraging the fact that he's got a good unit number in terms of military. He's going to go to the Castle Age, and it will be the floating gate landmark. And a good time to do so. Kaiser Johan, though, he's looking to go to the Castle Age himself. The only trouble is he doesn't really have much units to defend. Gonna try and get an outpost to help him on his way. Does garrison the gold, and you can see Beastie trying to deny that Castle Age. So the double stable here, or triple stable I should say actually for the Japanese, typically suggests we're going to be seeing a lot of mounted samurai. Arguably actually one of the very best sort of cavalry units in the Castle Age. They have a shield on them essentially. They deflect the first attack on them, whether it be melee or ranged. An incredibly powerful aspect to that unit. And the archery rangers primed and ready, maybe to add in some on the musha. Certainly feels like, though, in this matchup, he's going to want to pull away from Yumi Ashigaru. I'm not sure they scale particularly well. I mean, he might upgrade them in any sense, because he's got quite a few of them, so he will upgrade them to the veterancy level. But we shall see if he commits to that unit line or not. Looks like he's actually making quite a few more as it happens. And so instead of the Onimusha, looks like it's going to be Yumi Ashigaru and the Mounted Samurai. All with the Golden Horn Tower. Oh, hello. Hello. The Shinto priest got away with that a little bit. Or maybe not. Maybe the horseman might turn around and fight. Wait, he really should turn around and fight that, no? Or he just wants to keep them alive so he can get them upgraded. Doesn't want to take an unnecessary fight. But potentially could have sneakily taken out the Shinto priest. Unfortunately missed that opportunity. Now Beastie in the castle age, quite a bit quicker. He should be able to pick up some of those relics. Especially with his cavalry on the field now. And Yumi Ashigaru good numbers. I mean, there's enough there to really dish out damage against the horsemen, especially with the bannerman. The Yumi bannerman definitely adds a lot here for the Japanese. First relic has been picked up. I wonder if we'll see a monastery now for the Byzantines now that he's in the castle age. Not quite just yet. Added in a couple of cataphracts, which, by the way, do incredibly well against siege units. They can always use their trample ability to go right on top of enemy armies and just go past them, really, go through them. On top of siege engines, that could be on the back line, potentially. I'm kind of curious with this army composition, actually, as it happens. Got a bit of mixture of everything. Some Varangian guards, some cataphracts, some longbows. I'm not sure really what Kaiser Johan's going to be committing to here. What we do know he's going to commit to this fight. No, he's not. He shouldn't really. Horsemen have to back away. But he's suffered some losses for sure. That's the power of getting the first attacks at times. He lost a lot for free. Now cataphracts against Yumi Ashigaru, they'll do great work. They're expensive units. A switch into Onimusha could really put a spanner in the works, but he's not revealed that hand, right? So I don't think Beastie necessarily knows about the cataphracts just yet. Although he will now. Kind of expecting to see Onimusha queued up now that he saw the cataphracts. Now the primary gold about to expire here for Kaiser Johan, so he will need to move out onto the map. He's moved out on the left side. Bear in mind, as we enter sort of the 20-minute mark almost, the two 8,000 gold vein tiles needs to be considered. They're both slap bang in the middle, so they could look to try and contest that. Horsemen now are pretty much thrown away. First relic coming in now for the Byzantines. Look at that monk's cape. Holy moly. I say cape, but I'm not sure what the right word for it is. Here are the Onimusha. Certainly in response to those cataphracts. Quite a passive start to the castle age. Can be expected though, because they are challenging for those relics. But water level 4 now means that there's going to be a 22% gather rate boosting for these villagers, but also a massive 80% production speed increase on those production buildings. With 3 relics already back in for the Japanese and quite possibly the 4th, gold is unlikely to be a bit of a problem here at all for the Japanese. Alright, well, Kaiser Johan moving out now with his army. Pretty mixed as it happens. Longbows, a couple of Limitanai, a couple of Varangian guards, a couple of cataphracts, a couple of horsemen. A very mixed bag compared to what Beastie has got. Primarily mounted samurai and Yumi Ashigaru, although he's adding in some of these Onimusha now as we speak. Looking to counteract the cataphracts. As it happens, I feel like the army is a little bit more solid here for Beastie. A little bit more kind of organized. Yumi Ashigaru should do well against the longbows and half decent against the Limitanai. The mounted samurai should do well against everything else. The Onimusha could be targeting those cataphracts, and if they do so, these cataphracts could have a hard time. There aren't quite enough of the Onimusha though, it feels, at this stage. It looks like they are being added in. Kind of a bit precarious though, that the Yumi Ashigaru are the ones that are leading the line. Beastie is going to try and drag him into the fight, quite potentially gets a couple of hits, obviously using the ranged attack Gets one ringing guard, does able to, two-shot them, so that's pretty good as it happens. Now he drags him into the fight. The Yumi Ashigaru are boosted up by the Yumi Bannerman. Mounted Samurai attacking that front line. There's quite a few Limitanai, but you can see the Yumi Ashigaru focusing on the Limitanai, which is exactly what they need to do. Now they're focusing on the ranged units on the back line. I'm not quite sure he's got enough Mounted Samurai here, though, Beastie. He could be struggling. Cataphracts, though, they don't seem to be surviving this, would you believe? Onimusha on the back line doing so well to take them down. And the Cataphracts are all but gone, and it just leaves the Yumi Ashigaru behind. But without too much cavalry on the field, the Yumi Ashigaru could potentially run away from this if they so wished. Looks like it's going to stand and fight, and for good reason. Look at that, the Yumi Bannerman really leading the Yumi Ashigaru to a victory in this particular fight. The longbows are finding it hard to hold on. They can't really run away from this fight because Yumi Ashigaru just way too fast, and he's actually sniping villagers as we speak as well. Now the walls are up, so maybe the Byzantines can recover, but it's a big fight that certainly went in the way of the Japanese. And I talk about recovery. Look at the ringing guards now adding into the fight. The military numbers still looking solid here for the Byzantines, and defenders' advantage is certainly a real thing, especially now. There's at water level 4, 80% production speed on those production buildings. Means that when the Byzantines do lose an army, they can replace it very quickly. Now the remainder units do back away. I can imagine there won't be too many more Yumi Ashigaru being built here for the Japanese. I suspect we'll see a lot more Onimusha, as we can see now being queued up. It does have 3 forges with the Yorishiro inside. That's generating him 20 gold every, I believe, is that 20 seconds or is it 30 seconds? We'll just double check on this. It is every 20 seconds, so 60 gold per minute. Not too shabby at all when you consider there are 3 of those forges. 4 relics and a sacred site. Gold income should not be a problem for the Japanese. There is another little bit of a tidbit to consider. The Japanese can't actually get keeps in the Castle Age, whereas the Byzantines can. I do wonder whether Kaiser Johan will look to get a keep in the middle, because there's a sacred site at stake. There's 2 8,000 gold veins as well. Something that, of course, is going to start to become a lot more important as the game wears on. Beastie just looking to get that sacred site on the right and in the middle, making the Byzantines feel the pressure to get out on the map. Kaiser Johan going for a sacred site of his own. That's a lot of farms. Especially with the Daimyo Palace upgrade, it's going to be increasing the gather rate of these farms by a good 50%. The Shogunate Castle, it becomes 75, but it's an expensive tech to get. Need quite a bit of stone for it. But boy oh boy, when you do get it, the food income skyrockets. Beastie looking to use the cavalry to his advantage. And as it happens, looks like the Byzantines have steered away from cavalry units, really. Add in a couple of Landskelester in there. It's a lot of longbowmen. When you consider longbowmen are all paid by olive oil, there's 29 of them, and of course lost quite a few of them earlier. It's a big chunk of the army, all supplied by olive oil. Mounted Samurai trying to keep the Byzantines at home, and it'll be difficult for these units to get back home now, so Kaiser Johan might suffer some losses back at home. He has got a couple of reinforcements, but not quite enough to deal with this. Does have an outpost to garrison inside too, but I'm sure there'll be some villager kills here, and I wonder whether Kaiser Johan will look to be aggressive himself. Knowing that the Mounted Samurai are raiding his base, he'll want to get some counter damage. It's caused quite a significant bunch of idle time. I wonder whether Kaiser Johan will go for some Kairo-Siphons to take down these forward positions. The outpost at least. Now, granted, the Onimusha, they do not do particularly well against longbows, that's for sure. So the Mounted Samurai might need to come back here. There they are. Accompanied by the Uma Bannerman, of course increasing the damage output for the Japanese. Something that certainly Japanese players do have to pay attention to. Lacking that unit in an army is a big disadvantage for them. Still though, the cavalry units able to deal with the forces that are at home for the Byzantines. They might lose a couple of Mounted Samurai here on the retreat. He does lose a couple. Right, triple Kairo-Siphon. Looks like Kaiser Johan is going to go for it. He wants to put some pressure. Understandably so, he's got 98 military units. The only issue is that the Japanese got defender's advantage. And he's got a lot of production. Mounted Samurai Onimusha is the army composition here. And I think it does pretty well. I guess really the crossbows is the only kind of concern here for the Japanese, but if he can get on top of those, Be absolutely fine. Oh, couple of mounted samurai. I'm looking to pick off reinforcements, although Kaiser Johan's been doing well to keep his reinforcements together and grouped up. Now the relics inside the Shinto shrines about to be burnt to the crisp. And I wonder if he's going to send some scholars, some monks there to pick those up. It could be a big smash and grab here. Is this going to be a killer death blow? It could be 108 military units versus 50. Beastie's kind of in a bind. Kaiser Johan, almost at population capacity, would you believe? This has got to take one big massive hold if he can. Now there's no siege engines here for the Japanese. No mangonels built just yet. And the fourth Cairo siphon being built. This is a problem. He's going to start losing production buildings. Those two stables about to go down before too long. Could this be the killer death blow? Oh, there it is. There's the mangonels. This could be working wonders. Oh, big first shot. Yeah, decent shot there for sure. A lot of longbowmen, half health because of it. That's a lot of mounted samurai. And they could just charge on in. There doesn't seem to be too many Limitanite, all that many crossbows. Mostly Varangian guards and longbows, which actually the mounted samurai will do well against. He's trying to get the mangonel in play, and he does get the mangonel play. Massive shot on the mangonels. Those longbows, crossbows, they are suffering some big damage, and there's no way here for Kaiser Johan to take care of that. There's no springald in play. No cavalry units going for the Wallow. Doesn't look like he's going to get too much, but we might get a couple of units here. He does pull them back in the end, Kaiser Johan, but he's lost so many. And all of a sudden, the military numbers start to dwindle. Somehow, Beastie's held. A lot of it comes down to the mangonel. I wouldn't say all of it just yet. There's a second mangonel as it happens. And the lack of springalds is really hurting the Byzantines now. Mostly on Musha pushing this back, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? Because these units are technically supposed to be countered by ranged units. It's just the sheer numbers. Just looking a bit overwhelming. And Beastie has managed to hold. It's going to take the Byzantines needing to regroup again. Another massive mangonel shot. He's taken a couple of those, Kaiser Johan. Beastie somehow managed to hold on with half the army. Behind all of this, though, the Byzantines are going to go to the Imperial Age with the Foreign Engineering Company. It's actually a really nice landmark to get. Gives them access to the Nesta Bees, the Hui Hui Pao, the Royal Cannon. I think there's one more, but can't quite remember off the top of my head. It's a powerful landmark for sure. Yeah, Nesta Bees, Hui Hui Pao, and Royal Cannons. Okay, it's just those three for now. And I believe... yeah, I mean, it's all paid for by olive oil, again. Which, of course, the Byzantines will have in abundance now. Getting 500 per minute. But that was a crazy hold for Beastie. And it all came down to the siege, really. Made a big difference in that fight. It's going to be the Tanegashima Gunsmith. Giving access to the really strong unit, the Zutsu, for the Japanese. A ranged siege gunpowder infantry. It's a crazy unit. We've seen a couple of games with that, and I've missed it. It's been a while actually since I've casted a Japanese game. Certainly a while since I've seen the Zutsu. They are something else because they feel like a unit that can be successful against any army composition really, because they're just such a great support unit. They're a siege damage output unit. They do a lot of damage to buildings, but also they do splash damage against military units, infantry units, for example, and it's incredibly powerful. Have a strong front line in front of them, and, well, be hard to clear on out. Now, bear in mind, with the Tanegashima Gunsmith, you actually get 2 free tickets as it happens, 2 free stockpiles, so I'm pretty certain we'll start to see a Zutsu popping out soon. Our siphon will be taken down in the end on the right side. The villagers for Beastie have chased. Keep going up on the west side for the Byzantines, getting access to that gold vein. He needs it. It's going to be coming down to a big push for this one, you feel, down right in the middle of the map. That's a lot of Onimusha. It means that Varangian Guards is a very difficult unit to make here for the Byzantines, because of course the Onimusha get heavy damage bonus to heavy armored units, so +9 there versus heavy units. Longbows will be nice to have against the Onimusha if you can snipe them. The biggest problem, I feel, is if the mounted samurai keep on coming out, as well as these mangonels. Definitely going to need to try and get some anti-sieges. Only got 1 springle, 2 springle, so we'll be able to one-shot a mangonel, but there are 3 of them. Oh no, the keep. Oh, that's not going to go up, but he lost a bit of stone doing so. He hasn't got enough stone to rebuild another one. He's going to need to mine a bit more. And that was huge. The timing on that for beastyqt to spot that, to challenge it. Because once the keep's gone up, it's a different story. Couple lands Ganesh to add into the mix. Varinga Guard going to try and chase down, but of course the mobility of the Onimusha making them really powerful. The longbow in range should work well for the Byzantines though, although they're not engaging. Half of them are, and he sniped out Springald. Oh no, Kaiser Johan, he looked away for a moment, and that is huge. Now losing the Springalds means that these mangonels for beastyqt, they're going to be remaining unchallenged again. About to pop on forward. Raid around the back. Unfortunately, these villagers now going to be idled once again. Mounted Samurai are great at raiding. They're super tanky, but the shield offers so much value as well. He's going to look to get the keep. Oh no, this is a position that maybe he can't. Oh, it's going to be untenable. The villagers. Oh no, he lost everything in one massive shot from the mangonels. He has to delete the keep, and Beasty says, you know what, you've had 2 bites of the cherry. It's my turn. He's going to look to get a keep of his own. The raid has been dealt with, but a lot of idle time on these villagers. About half the economy almost was idle for quite some time. And that monk, he suffered a painful death. Death by rocks, of course. Now Beasty getting hold of this 8,000 gold vein, which he kind of needs, despite having 4 relics. You know, he definitely needs gold for that late game. Now looks like the switch to Elite Samurai has happened. And oh, this is a really awkward army because the Varinga Guards just straight up lose to these Elite Samurai. 170 HP versus the 180 for the Samurai, but the 17 base damage, plus 4 versus infantry. It's incredibly powerful for the Samurai. Compare that to the Elite Varinga Guard. 18 damage, but no plus damage. Bonus damage against infantry. So the Samurai should win, especially when you've got Ozutsu on the backline dishing out splash damage. This is an army that looks incredibly difficult to deal with. Mangonels, Samurai, and Ozutsu. Bear in mind, he's also got these Bannermen for the Ozutsu, the Yumi Bannerman. Would love to have a Katana Bannerman added into the mix for his infantry units, for his melee infantry units, namely the Samurai. And looking to contest the gold on the right side, understandably so. Beasty is able to mine it for now. Onimusha around the back, a bit of a raiding again. Beasty's done this so well actually as the game progresses, despite these walls, would you believe? Turns out to be mostly wasted wood, considering the Onimusha are still able to trickle on through. They will get taken apart, but it's forced half of the army for the Byzantines to head back home. Allows Beasty to recover, recuperate down the middle, solidify his position even further. We do see the Royal Cannon, Nesta Bees added in, Springald, so getting ready for a siege fight. Which, by the way, will all be changing in Season 9. Which is pretty exciting to see, because Springalds are going to start to become a bit more of a anti-melee infantry unit. And then you've got the Mangonels that can do a little bit less damage, and probably a little bit more squishy to be taken out. There's Royal Cannon, gets 2 shots off of the castle. Takes a big chunk of the... oh, wait, what? Oh, that's a bit of a unusual situation. Yep, he stopped firing there for a second. Always got to be careful not to lose this. Kaiser Johan, I hope he's paying attention. He does bring it back now. The infantry about to charge on in. Lots of veteran spearmen, lots of samurai. And here come the Zutsu firing off with the splash damage. Mangonels deploying. They get a massive shot on the infantry units. A good few Springalds. The Springalds, though, they're not on the Mangonels. They are now. Taking out 2. 1 further remains. It does get a last shot on the Bringing Guards. They tanked a lot of it. I think this is a fight that the Byzantines might just win. The Azusa getting good splash damage, but a lot of these ranged units are relatively spread out over Kaiser Johan. That Royal Cannon, though, that's exposed, and the Samurai, they are somehow tanking, would you believe? But he's got to back away. He's got the castle to retreat to. Sacred Site on the right side is being captured by Beasty. But the biggest problem for Beasty is that this castle might be going down. The Royal Cannon doing great work against it. Villagers trying to repair. They're not sure if they're going to manage it at the end. Just way too many hits for the Byzantines. Very low on health, and I think this will go down now in the end. Villagers, they scramble away. He saves them for now. This time, it's Kaiser Johan's 3rd bite at the cherry. Will he be able to get the castle up this time? That's the big question. And he needs it, because this gold vein is about to expire. This is where actually having 4 relics and 2 sacred sites, as well as the Yorishiro inside the forges, actually really helps the Byzantines. Oh, sorry, the Japanese rather. It definitely does not help the Byzantines. Have to find a way to deny gold income from Beasty if they can. Start to... oh, that waypoint is a bit... yeah, he's fixed it now. The samurai need to be brought back. They are now grouping up together. But nothing really changing in the armor composition. Mostly samurai and Ozutsu. He had a lot of spearmen earlier on, which I think don't really offer too much here for the Japanese. So it looks like he's going to be moving away from that. A lot of these production buildings on the front line likely be taken down. But it does buy time for the Japanese. And having these two Sacres, this is something that actually the Byzantines will want to decapture pretty soon. Shogunate Castle in place, so that means a lot of food coming on in. He's got enough stone for another castle potentially here, Beastie. The question is, does he place one defensively or does he try and fight this army? That's a big Byzantine army to go up against. Kind of curious to see if he can win the next fight. I mean, I think mostly samurai could work really well for him. There are a handful of crossbows, but it doesn't feel enough. It's a lot of longbows. I think mounted samurai wins this fight. If he can get rid of those crossbows, he should be able to clear out everything else. Bear in mind the +4 damage for the samurai applies to everything else in terms of infantry as well. Whether it be the crossbows, the longbows, the ringing guards, you name it. Any infantry tag on them, the samurai will get the bonus damage versus them. Looks like Beastie, it might be his time to go. Relatively even count in terms of military numbers. The ringing guards getting absolutely demolished by those Ozutsu. That's a lot of Ozutsu. That's a lot of splash damage coming out of this. And that front line evaporated here for Kaiser Johan. He doesn't have a front line remaining. And that means the infantry in the back line getting absolutely hacked and slashed. There's even the elite honor brigade, which works so well in a melee fight. They have the extra tile of range. It means they can fight over the shoulders of the samurai. And they get so much surface area to attack with. He wipes out that army. And now the Byzantines scrambling away with the siege. But I don't think he can get away. And I'm sure now Beastie should clear this up. That swung really quickly. And it's all down to the melee mosh pit of the Japanese army, supported by the Ozutsu, that now make short work of the siege engines and allow likely to make short work of this keep. Boiling oil being researched, but I don't think there's any time for that to come on in. That goes down so quickly. The Ozutsu absolutely demolished the keep. And now the Byzantines going to struggle on gold. This is looking dire situations for Kaiser Johan. All came down to the army composition, and this army composition looks nigh on unstoppable. The Ozutsu, the samurai, the honor brigade as a team, absolutely evaporating that Byzantine army. Nestabes might be caught out as well. It's a premium unit to lose. Ringing guards trying to hold on, but they can't. The Nestabes does go down. The Ozutsu, they're a bit exposed though. Not too much of a meat shield in front, but what that does allow is a bit of time for Beastie to get that castle up. As I say that though, the honor brigade coming into the fight. Couple Lanzknechte. But they get hacked and slashed. A couple of hand cannons as well. Yeah, he's not attack move there. Kaiser Johan loses a couple of units for free. Once again, Beastie gets control of the map. A massive back and forth game for sure. And the question is, can the Byzantines hold on and can they push out once again? They've done it before. But it's a second time too much to ask for. I mean, sure, they are palisade walls, but that got evaporated very quickly. Oh no, this gold vein, very exposed. That's a lot of villages idled. 33, around about half of the economy for the Byzantines in a second has been idled. And there's no real other gold map to be taken on this map, would you believe? So that just leaves the Byzantines with one sacred site and one relic. They do have access to olive oil, which certainly helps to get the mercenary units as well as the siege engines from the foreign engineering company. But now Beastie, 200 population, Kaiser Johan a mere 130. If Beastie decides to move on forward, it could do some significant damage. Gonna get the Nagayari, the spearman equipped with a stronger spear. I think at this point he's just getting everything he can. The Byzantines are walling up again. He's just trying to hold on, build up an army to push on out again. And the game is not all just quite lost yet. But I mean, he's lost a lot of villages over time, right? And start to lose more. Speaking of which, the villages are back in gold on the right side. But again, the raiding is happening and Kaiser Johan is not spotting this. Hello? Oh no, this is devastating. He's not spotted it. He's going to lose a lot. Oh no, the village losses continue. Okay, he does garrison them now, but there's not that many that remain. And that was a massive raid there for Beastie. And that means the economy for the Byzantines are in tatters. A lot of the economy is idled as well, and this has long-term repercussions because it means that in subsequent fights, the Byzantines will find it difficult to replenish that army. Look at this army, holy moly, Azutsu, the samurai, the Onabagation. As a trio, it looks like a force to be reckoned with, and Beastie going to move on forward before too long. Of course, the Byzantines are having to move back to deal with this army, which he will do. The Landsknechte, hand cannoneers, crossbows will deal with this pretty quickly, but it's just caused a lot of damage, a lot of idle time. Meanwhile, Beastie is still capped at almost 200 population. The Tutsu now going to start taking down these... okay, that goes down pretty quickly, holy moly. Of course, torch damage as well. And this war machine for the Japanese is incredibly powerful. You've got the siege damage from the Zutsu, and you've got the torch damage from everything else. And even more villages going down now. This is looking very dicey for Kaiser Johan. He does have a bit of food, a bit of gold banked up, and he's got to find a way to produce an army to deal with this. That could be siege. That could be his way out. We did see Beastie actually hold in a really strong position for the Byzantines back here earlier in the game, and it all came down to mangonels, right? Maybe there's a way the Byzantines can do and replicate that. We shall see. Either way, the Ozutsu making the most of the choke point, bringing guards, tanking that front line, but the Samurai and the Onabagation getting so much damage. You can see here, these melee units on the west side of that battle, they had to path all the way around just to get some contact surface. Meanwhile, the Onabagation fighting over the shoulders of the Samurai because of the extra range, they do so much damage so quickly. Now all of a sudden, the Byzantines are having to head back home once again. A couple of villages on the right side might get an outpost. We shall see what Beastie decides to do with this. Either way, mostly ranged units for the Byzantines. Does have a nest of bees now. Oh, there we go. 2 mangonels, massive shot. A lot of the bannermen do go down there for Beastie, which is a start here. But he loses the foreign engineering company. Really nice snipe there for Beastie. And now he moves on back as the mangonels push this back. So I wonder whether... and this is kind of curious, right? Because the Ozutsu, maybe they could snipe the mangonels potentially. Maybe he needs to go for some springles. But either way, what's going to be difficult for the Byzantines now is the lack of gold. Of course, the Japanese have 4 relics and a sacred site. Speaking of which, now's the time that actually sacred site's coming in for Beastie could be important. Look, yeah, he's doing just that, right? Making sure he tries to evaluate and take that win condition potentially. Moves with an army on the right side. Oh, nest of bees, double nest of bees, massive shot on the Ozutsu. Mangonels added into the mix, and well, Beastie's gonna have to run away with these Ozutsu. But look on the right side, he's looking to get a keep in this position. Now, there's not that much in terms of mineable resources, but I guess wood is something that could be becoming a bit precious, of course. Kind of not that much there on the front positions, and the Ozutsu are going to snipe what they can. There's still a couple of mangonels, a couple of nest of bees. Could hold on here for the Byzantines. The only problem is that the lack of villages for a long period of time has been hurting them. Mangonel's about to deploy. This could be painful for the Japanese. He does back away just in time. He dodges most of the mangonel shots. Will he dodge it again? Oh, nest of bees though. Massive shot on the Ozutsu and mangonels. The mangonels miss. The nest of bees didn't. Looks like the Ozutsu now are focus firing the mangonels, which is certainly important. He needs to take that down. Wait, he's not anymore. This mangonel survives. Is still living. Should get one more shot off at least. Look at this round the back. Massive raids once again. And this looks devastating. He can't come back from this, surely. On the front lines, he lost the mangonels. He lost the nest of bees. And Beastie's winning this fight as well. And he wins the game with that battle. A cracking game of Age of Empires 4. A crazy back and forth. And it ends up with Beastie taking the victory. Hope you guys enjoyed this casted game. And if you did, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Take care. And see you next time.